Hello everyone, I'm presenting the next video in my playlist, Placement Interview Questions on C Programming. I'm RVD and let's start with the current video. Glad to have you here. So before moving ahead, I always ask you to subscribe my channel. So I hope you people have already subscribed. So I appeal all my subscribers to please help me share this content with the bigger audience. So I would rather love to reach to the more significant audience. So a sincere request to all of you to share these videos, share the link of my channel to all your friends and colleagues so that I'll be able to increase the reach of my channel. Secondly, the community tab is now available. Okay, so I'm posting maybe some of the post from my side. I would also like you people to share your comments, your views, and make it more interactive. Okay, so with that hope that you people will support me as always for increasing the reach of my channel, let's go ahead with the current video. Fine, so the topic for the current video is variable assignment versus variable initialization. Or maybe in the form of a question, we can say explain the difference between variable assignment and variable initialization. Okay, I have not put it as a question, but that could come as a question as well. Obviously, the more focus is on understanding this concept. Okay. Now, before all this variable assignment and variable initialization, the preface of that is to declare a variable. Okay, so let's see the first one, that is variable declaration. We've already had seen data types which are being provided by C language. So using the data type, I can very well define or declare a variable. So let's look at the syntax, okay, and the examples. So you can see clearly the syntax goes like this. So you will be having the data type, okay. So data type is being used and variable name and the semicolon. See, this less than greater than sign indicates that this data type is not going to be the word which is actually going to get used. It will be replaced by something. So for example, if you look at int a, then the data type is int, variable name is a. Even variable name is being kept in that less than greater than sign because it is also going to get replaced. Semicolon is the one which will not be replaced, so it's not being kept within the less than greater than sign because it's going to come as it is. So generally, I was trying to make you comfortable in reading the syntax. So generally, whatever we keep in less than greater than sign is something which is going to get replaced, whereas the one which is being kept outside the less than greater than sign is the one which is going to stay as it is. Okay, I hope you understood what I said. So look at the example: int a comma b and semicolon. Obviously, a single variable declaration will be like this: int a semicolon. I want to declare more of the same type. So int a comma b comma c comma d. Okay, all of them are going to share the same data type, and then at the end you have to put a semicolon which ends the which marks rather the ends of the statement. Okay, suppose I want to declare one float and one integer, float x comma int a. Okay, don't worry, I'm not writing this. I'm telling you that if at all you do this, it is going to be invalid. Okay, because I cannot combine two variable declarations of the same type together. So if at all instead of this comma, if I put a semicolon here, having them on a single line is not a problem. Okay, but they must be separated by a semicolon because they are variable declaration of two different types of variables. Okay, similarly I can make use of char ch or even double x or something like that. So every data type which is being given can be used to declare a variable. Now, whenever I declare a variable, let's say for example, when I declare int a, you'll be given 2 bytes of memory, okay, with some address. Let's say assume address to be 100. Addresses are not that simple. They are generally in hex, but let us assume a simple address, let's say 100, and these 2 bytes will be allotted to our program. But as currently we have not done anything with it, what it currently stores? It will store some sort of I'm just showing you literally a garbage. Now, what exactly the concept of garbage value means? See, garbage value means it is not something really different or maybe has some significance of garbage. No, it will be an unwanted value which is being stored by the previous program. See, whenever I'm asking for memory, it obviously gives me memory from the same heap of memory which might have been used already by some other program previously. So when at that end of the program, that program might have left some value in it. So I get a memory with the same value, and that value which is insignificant to me, I consider that as a garbage value. Okay, so obviously the variable becomes usable to me only when I assign some value to the variable, and that concept is called as variable assignment. Fine. So as I generally just now as I said, variable assignment is what? Is to assign a value to a variable. So if at all I declare a variable and I leave it as it is, it's going to store a garbage, and it is not advisable to use a variable without assigning a value to it, because in that case the value of that variable is unpredictable if you don't assign a value, and that's the reason it's a very bad practice. You should always assign some value to it, and then only you're going to use it. Okay, now obviously some of the editors will give you warning. They may not like give you error. They are not bothered about it. They are just giving you a pinch that you have not assigned a value or it is not being initialized. We'll come to that initialization also. But we only have to take care that if at all I use a value which is not being assigned, it is obviously going to create problems for the execution of the program. Okay, so a simple example, you can see clearly when I say this is nothing but a variable declaration, which you already had seen. Whereas this particular point is called as variable assignment. Assigning a value to a variable is called as variable assignment. So now, how many times I can do variable assignment? Obviously, I can do variable assignment multiple times. Okay, so because let's say right now I have done a equal to 2. After some lines, maybe if I say a equals 10, still that is okay. It is going to replace. So what's going to happen when I assign the variable again? It is going to overwrite obviously the value which is being assigned previously. This also I already said, a variable which is declared but not assigned any value which is considered to be contain a garbage value. Now when I assign the variable again, it is going to override the previously stored value. That also I had talked about. So maybe initially a was 2. Okay, when I had assigned a as 10, you know what has happened? Initially a obviously was storing 2. When I assign 10 to it, it overrides that value. So now a no more stores 2, it stores 10. And whenever we will access that variable, it is always going to store, or it's always going to present the latest value which is being stored in the variable. So for example, after I do a equal to 10, if at all I try to access a, if I try to print a, it is going to print 10. Okay, so that's about the variable assignment. Let's look at the next concept, that is variable initialization. Okay, as the name suggests, initialization is nothing but assigning value at the time of declaration. So that's the very, very simple concept that you need to understand first. So a process of assigning a value to a variable at the time of declaration is called as variable initialization. So, in this case, we are not allowing a variable to store a garbage value. As soon as we declare a variable, we immediately assign a value to it. Okay, so let us look at the example. So this is the very typical example that we can see. Int a equal to 2. So I have declared a value as well as, I have declared a variable as well as I'm assigning value to it at the same point of time. Okay, so that is nothing but called as variable initialization. Okay, so declaration and assignment both done together, then it is called as initialization. Fine. Isn't it obvious that one variable can be initialized only once? Because initialization is possible only at the time of declaration. Now maybe some of you might be wondering, so why cannot we do this a equal to 10? Yeah, we can, but this a equal to 10 will not be considered as initialization. It will be considered as assignment only. And as I already said, assignment can be done number of times, but initialization can be done only once. Now this initialization has got types also. So let's move ahead. Let's look at the types of initialization. See, based on when we do initialization or at what stage the initialization is being done, your initialization or variable initialization is categorized into two types. The first one is called as static initialization and the second is called as dynamic initialization. Fine, let's look at the individual one. Okay, so first is static initialization. Now, what is static initialization? As the name suggests, obviously the initialization must be done statically, or maybe we can say at the compile time. But it's not that initialization might be done at the compile time, because obviously we want it to get executed for performing some action. But the value which is to be initialized, if it is available from the compile time, so we don't have to wait for the program to execute to generate the value to be initialized. If that is the case, then we say it is static initialization. If you're not clear, I'll repeat. I'm saying if the value which is to be initialized, if it is available at the compile time, or if it is available statically, then we would say it is static initialization or compile time initialization. Look at the example, int a equal to 5. It is initialization, obviously, but we are clearly aware about the value to be initialized from the compile time itself. So even though it doesn't execute, we at least have the value with us. And such type of initialization is called as static initialization. Okay. On the other hand, the second one is dynamic initialization. So now what would be dynamic initialization? See, if the value which is to be initialized, if I need to compute that value at runtime, so unless the program starts, it executes maybe some statements, we are not clear about the value which is to be initialized. Such situation leads to dynamic initialization. So I repeat, when the value to be initialized is computed at runtime, then it is called as dynamic initialization. You can see when the value to be initialized is computed at the runtime, or when it is computed dynamically, then we call it as dynamic initialization. Let's look at the example. Now see, you can see float x is equal to sqrt 20 is again an initialization, because we are declaring and we are assigning value. But the value which is to be assigned or initialized rather here is not available unless the program starts and executes it. Okay, so when the value which is to be initialized made available at the runtime, and that's the reason such type of initialization is called as dynamic initialization of the variable. So generally you do get a question like, what is the dynamic initialization of a variable? It is when the value which is to be initialized is not available at the compile time. It requires to be computed at runtime or dynamically. Fine. So I guess a lot of concepts are getting clear. I hope you people have understood this. So in this particular video, we've understood how to declare variables. So variable declaration, and we had seen that there are two different scenarios that we can actually have a declaration and then we do assignment when we require during the program, or else we can have a variable initialization. So at the time of declaration itself, we can assign a value and we do not allow the variable to store a garbage value in case of initialization. Then further, we had even seen that initialization can be of two types, that is static initialization and dynamic initialization. Okay, so I hope you people are understanding the concepts, and I'm obviously helping you in doing the same. Do post comments so that I'll be able to know. Okay, and as I said, do like and share the videos with your friends and your colleagues so that I'll be able to increase the reach of my YouTube channel. So that's it for this video. Thank you and happy learning.